For many Americans, a full-time job and a steady paycheck still aren't enough to cover the price of staying alive. They are left standing at the pharmacy counter, holding an insulin vial and a receipt they cannot afford to pay. It's easy to look at a scene like that and conclude that the American healthcare system is failing. To most, it seems hopelessly bloated, expensive, and broken. But the word dysfunction implies a failure to operate. If a machine produces exactly what it was built to produce, calling it broken is a logical mistake. Looking at the numbers, this setup appears remarkably efficient. Its primary function is the transformation of medical complexity into corporate capital. We continue to see this as a medical crisis. In reality, it is a financial machine, and its intended output is profit. Until that changes, reform is impossible. The foundation of this machine was laid in the 1940s. Tying health insurance to employment wasn't a deliberate medical strategy. It was a tax policy workaround used to bypass wartime wage freezes. While post-war Europe built nationalized care, American leaders actively resisted public solutions, fearing they would lead to creeping socialism. The federal government eventually stepped in with the creation of Medicare and Medicaid in 1965. This massive expansion of infrastructure gave the existing inequalities a permanent place in the federal budget. Southern lawmakers, determined to protect Jim Crow-era racial hierarchies, demanded that Medicaid be decentralized. They wanted to ensure the federal government couldn't use health spending to enforce civil rights. This compromise created a map of unequal care. Today, a citizen's baseline health access is determined almost entirely by the state they live in. Decades of political stalling built a fragmented, unequal foundation. Eventually, modern corporations realized they could use that exact fragmentation as a weapon for profit. Today, pharmaceutical companies and medical intermediaries have mastered the art of extracting wealth from that historical complexity. The pharmaceutical industry alone spent over $370 million on lobbying in 2024. That money ensures regulations are written to protect their patents while making it harder for generic competitors to enter the market. They protect these interests using dark money. Corporate funds enter a 501c4 nonprofit, allowing limitless cash for political influence while keeping identities hidden. Because they don't name donors, they bypass federal bans, allowing foreign corporations to secretly influence American healthcare policy. Lawmakers have little reason to dismantle a system that provides such a consistent path to personal wealth. It's called the revolving door. This data shows the scale of the career move. In 2025, 866 members of Congress and staffers moved from the Hill to K Street lobbying firms. These are the same people who filed legislation pre-written by the lobbyists, now signing their million-dollar paychecks. There is no incentive for a politician to fix a system when the beneficiaries of that system are their future employers. Even the most significant reforms leave the profit-making machinery untouched. The Affordable Care Act expanded coverage to millions, but its design ultimately protected private intermediaries. To appease moderate and conservative opposition, the proposed public option was stripped from the law. This ensured that private insurers wouldn't have to face government competition. Then, a 2012 Supreme Court ruling made Medicaid expansion optional. This legal decision effectively weaponized the decentralized state system that was built back in 1965. Because of that ruling, millions of people, mostly in the South, are trapped in a coverage gap. They earn too much for Medicaid, but not enough for the ACA marketplace. This is the price of deliberate complexity. Patients struggle with opaque billing and shifting networks, while the fee-for-service model rewards expensive late-stage procedures over simple, effective prevention. Real healthcare reform isn't a medical challenge. It's a perfectly engineered campaign finance problem.